It is believed the Blessed Virgin Mary was raised there and received the Annunciation there. By there, we mean Nazareth. So, how did it get to Italy, where the devotion to the Holy House began?
For centuries, the final resting place of the Virgin Mary has remained one of the most mysterious and hotly debated subjects in religious history. Did she pass away peacefully and was buried, or, as many believe, did she ascend to heaven in her physical form? Or could there be a darker, far more chilling truth buried beneath layers of secrecy and time? A tomb long thought to be sacred and untouchable has remained sealed for generations, until now. When scientists finally broke the seal and stepped inside, what they uncovered left them stunned and deeply unsettled. Could this discovery rewrite everything we thought we knew about Mary's fate? As we journey deeper into this unfolding mystery, the story only grows stranger, more astonishing, and far more disturbing than anyone could have imagined. Imagine this, a centuries-old mystery, a forbidden tomb, finally unsealed. For generations, the final moments of the Virgin Mary's life on earth have remained shrouded in mystery. Unlike Jesus, whose death and resurrection are carefully documented in Scripture, Mary's fate has been passed down through oral traditions, apocryphal writings, and varied theological interpretations that differ across Christian denominations. Some believe she died peacefully, with her soul ascending to heaven while her body stayed behind. Others are convinced she never experienced death at all and was taken into heaven, body and soul, a belief known in Catholicism as the Assumption. Yet, regardless of the belief, one question has lingered and puzzled theologians and historians alike. Where was Mary buried? The search for her final resting place has led scholars across the world, but no location has drawn more attention and reverence than the Kidron Valley in Jerusalem. Tucked beneath the shadow of the Mount of Olives, this valley is far more than a scenic landscape. It's an ancient necropolis, a sacred burial ground for kings, prophets, and key figures from biblical history. And within this holy ground lies a crypt that has been honored for centuries by Christians around the world, believed by many to be the tomb of the Virgin Mary. For many Christian denominations, this site is more than just a historical landmark. It's a sacred place of pilgrimage. It's where the faithful come to pray, reflect, and honor the life of the Virgin Mary, the Mother of Christ. But there's one haunting detail about this tomb that has always stirred both deep reverence and quiet fear. It has never been opened. Unlike other ancient tombs that have been excavated, studied, and even put on display for the world, Mary's tomb has remained sealed for centuries. Its massive stone entrance has acted not only as a physical barrier, but as a warning. The fear wasn't only about disturbing something sacred, it was about what might be hidden inside. Some whispered of divine punishment for those who dared to violate the sanctity of the tomb. Others speculated that the Church might know more than it has ever revealed. For generations, religious leaders, archaeologists, and historians have debated whether the tomb should be opened at all. But as time passed and technology evolved, so did human curiosity. What if this wasn't just an empty shrine? What if deep within, there were ancient relics, undeniable proof that could challenge long-held beliefs, reshape religious history, and redefine everything we thought we knew about Mary's final moments? And so, after years of delicate negotiations and careful planning, a team of scientists and archaeologists was finally granted permission to break the seal. With the eyes of the world watching, they prepared to open the tomb, a moment that could either confirm the miraculous nature of Mary's heavenly departure, or reveal something far more unsettling. The seal was broken, and what they found would shake the world. On the morning of the excavation, a team of scientists and archaeologists stood silently before the ancient tomb. The air was thick with anticipation. This wasn't just another dig. It was a moment that carried the weight of centuries, maybe even millennia. Before them loomed the tomb's massive stone entrance, weathered by time but still imposing. Intricate carvings lined its surface, biblical scenes, angels with outstretched wings, and faint inscriptions in ancient Greek and Aramaic. Reminders of a world long gone. No one could say for sure when human hands had last touched these sacred stones. Perhaps hundreds of years ago, maybe more. Then, the first strike of a chisel rang out, a dull clang that echoed through the silent valley. Carefully and patiently, the team worked to break the ancient seal. It took hours. Every movement was precise, every touch deliberate. There was no room for mistakes. Finally, with one last push, the stone shifted. A low, deep groan vibrated from within the tomb as stale air, untouched for centuries, escaped through the opening. It carried with it a strange scent. It wasn't the smell of decay or dust, but something else. Something ancient. Something unspoiled by time. The tomb was open. The weight of the moment seemed to freeze everyone in place. Then slowly, the lead archaeologist stepped forward. Flashlight in hand, he peered into the darkness. But the darkness wasn't ordinary. It was thick, almost unnatural, like it resisted the light. As his beam cut through the shadows, stone steps emerged, leading down into the depths. The walls of the tomb came into view, lined with faded paintings, once vibrant, now dulled with age, whispering stories that hadn't been seen in centuries. After centuries of darkness, the carvings inside the tomb, though worn by time, still held powerful meaning. Scenes of Mary surrounded by the apostles were etched into the stone, along with celestial figures that appeared to be guiding her toward heaven. The symbolism was striking, even after all these years. But in that moment, none of it mattered. Because what the team was about to discover would shake the world to its core. The terrifying discovery: an empty tomb. As the team moved deeper into the chamber, the air grew colder. The atmosphere felt unnaturally heavy, almost as if the tomb itself was holding its breath. Then they reached the heart of the tomb, the central sarcophagus, and they froze. The massive stone coffin, believed to hold the remains of one of the most revered figures in religious history, was completely empty. For a few seconds, there was only silence. Then soft whispers rippled through the team. Disbelief, confusion, awe. The lead archaeologist cautiously stepped forward and ran his hand over the smooth, untouched surface of the sarcophagus. There were no cracks, no signs of tampering. The tomb had clearly remained sealed for centuries. So, where was Mary? Shock spread among the team as they struggled to make sense of what they were witnessing. Could the ancient stories have been true all along? Had Mary truly ascended into heaven, leaving no earthly remains behind? Or was there another explanation? Something far more mysterious, maybe even more unsettling than anyone had dared to imagine. Something unexplainable had happened here. The empty tomb wasn't just a puzzling discovery. It carried profound implications. If there were no remains, no physical trace of Mary's body, then the doctrine of the Assumption might not just be a matter of faith, it could be a historical reality. The eerie truth was sinking in. Mary's body hadn't decomposed over time. It was never here at all. Just as the weight of that realization settled over the team, one of the researchers broke the silence. He had noticed something strange. Though the sarcophagus was empty, the tomb itself was not. Scattered throughout the chamber, partially buried under centuries of dust, were ancient objects, relics that hinted at something even more significant than the missing body. The mystery wasn't over. In fact, it had only just begun. Hidden relics, unearthing ancient clues. The empty sarcophagus had left the team speechless, but what they discovered next only deepened the mystery. In the dim glow of their flashlights, they began to uncover objects carefully placed around the tomb, artifacts that appeared to hold deep religious and historical importance. The first was a woven burial cloth. Its fabric was delicate, yet astonishingly well preserved. Golden embroidery lined its edges, forming intricate patterns far too elaborate for an ordinary burial shroud. Could this be a remnant of the cloth that once covered Mary's body? Nearby, another archaeologist gently brushed away dust from a second object. Brushing away layers of dust, one of the archaeologists uncovered a stone tablet, its surface etched with ancient inscriptions. As the markings slowly became legible, a chill swept through the group. The text described a radiant moment, a burst of light, celestial beings descending, and Mary being lifted beyond the heavens. The words didn't just resemble religious legend, they echoed the very heart of the Assumption itself. But the revelations weren't over yet. As the team examined the surrounding walls, they discovered something even more astonishing: a series of faded paintings and carvings depicting what appeared to be Mary's final moments on earth. Yet something about them felt different. Unlike the serene images common in traditional Christian art, these illustrations showed something more extraordinary, even supernatural. They didn't portray a peaceful death. Instead, they revealed a divine event, a figure being lifted skyward by unseen forces, her face radiant, the heavens seemingly parting above her. Could this be the earliest visual account of Mary's ascension? The pieces of the puzzle were beginning to align, but the full picture was still out of reach. One thing was certain: the world was about to be confronted with the magnitude of this discovery, and not everyone would be ready for the answers it might bring. The mysterious inscription, a message from the past. The shock of finding an empty tomb had barely settled when something else caught their attention: a set of inscriptions carved directly into the tomb walls. These markings, ancient and time-worn, appeared almost untouched, as if preserved through the ages, waiting for this very moment to be revealed. One archaeologist, an expert in ancient languages, stepped forward. Gently running his fingers across the weathered text, he began to decipher the symbols. The script was a mix of Aramaic and Greek, languages widely used during the earliest days of Christianity. The expert carefully translated the inscription, word by word. What he uncovered was far more than a dedication. It was a detailed account of what had taken place in this very tomb. She who bore the light of the world was not left to the dust. No mortal hands carried her. No grave claimed her. The heavens opened, and she was taken, beyond, where no earthly soul shall follow. The weight of those words was staggering. If this account was authentic, if it had been written by someone who had witnessed Mary's departure, then everything changed. The doctrine of the Assumption, long held by the Catholic Church as a matter of faith, might suddenly have historical evidence to support it. This was no longer just theology. It could be fact. And the revelations didn't end there. Just beneath the main inscription was a list of names, perhaps witnesses or those involved in the burial. One name stood out instantly: Thomas. According to Christian tradition, the Apostle Thomas was the only disciple absent when Mary was laid to rest. When he arrived days later and asked to see her remains, the tomb was opened, only to be found empty. For centuries, that story had lived in legend. But now, this inscription seemed to confirm it. This wasn't just an archaeological breakthrough. It was a direct challenge to everything we thought we knew about history and faith. But even as these truths began to emerge, one question lingered in the air. Was the world ready to accept them? With the discovery of the inscriptions, the urgency to verify the tomb's artifacts became critical. If the relics could be scientifically authenticated, it would mean that what they uncovered wasn't just a religious legend, but a historical event. The team quickly secured every item for further examination. From the woven burial cloth and the stone inscriptions to the smaller objects scattered across the tomb, each artifact was handled with extreme precision. There was no room for error. These could be among the most important historical objects ever found. The first step: radiocarbon dating, a process used to determine the age of ancient organic material. When the burial cloth was tested, the results stunned everyone. The fabric was dated to somewhere between 50 BC and 150 AD, exactly within the time frame of Mary's believed passing. Then came the test everyone was waiting for: DNA analysis. Although no human remains had been found, researchers detected microscopic biological traces, tiny fragments of skin oils and organic residue left behind on the cloth and artifacts. The goal was clear: extract enough genetic data to determine whether these traces matched known genetic markers of early Middle Eastern populations. If they did, it would offer tangible proof that the artifacts belonged to someone from Mary's time and region. But while the scientific work pressed forward, another battle was quietly unfolding, this one behind closed doors. The Vatican had taken notice, and they had no intention of letting this discovery go unchecked. The Vatican's response: a secret they never wanted, revealed. As news of the findings began to spread, the Vatican responded swiftly and with careful precision. Within hours, an official statement was released. It was measured, diplomatic, and strangely vague. The Vatican's official statement on the Jerusalem excavation was brief and carefully worded. It acknowledged that the site held historical importance, but emphasized that faith lies beyond the scope of scientific investigation. The Church recognized the value of sacred places, but urged restraint when interpreting material evidence. To the average observer, it sounded like a neutral stance, neither confirming nor denying the discovery's implications. But to those familiar with the inner workings of the Holy See, the message was clear. The Vatican was distancing itself, and that raised an even deeper, more unsettling question. Had they known all along? For generations, whispers have persisted about secret documents hidden deep within the Vatican archives, records that some believe hold evidence of historical events that could challenge established Christian teachings. Could Mary's tomb have been one of those closely guarded secrets? Had the Church already been aware of its empty state, but kept it hidden from the public? Theories began to swirl, and not all of them painted the Vatican in a favorable light. Some suggested the Church had deliberately suppressed the truth, fearing that undeniable proof of Mary's Assumption might shift spiritual authority away from institutional religion. Others believed the opposite, that the Church wasn't hiding the truth to control it, but rather protecting it, believing that the world simply wasn't ready. Because if Mary's tomb was truly empty, if she had indeed ascended into the heavens, what else could that mean? Could this discovery be part of a greater unfolding? A sign? A prophecy in motion? One thing was certain: the world's most powerful religious institution was watching, and they weren't going to let this revelation pass quietly. Theories emerge. Did Mary truly ascend? As scientific tests began to validate the authenticity of the relics, and as the Vatican remained silent, a wave of theories flooded public consciousness. They ranged from deeply theological to wildly speculative. For many believers, for centuries, millions have believed in Mary's Assumption, a sacred doctrine accepted without any physical proof. But now, if the inscription truly was an eyewitness account, it seemed to confirm what many had long hoped, that Mary did not die like ordinary humans, nor did her body remain on earth. However, skeptics weren't so easily convinced. Some suggested that Mary's remains might have been secretly moved during Christianity's early years, perhaps by devoted followers trying to protect her tomb from Roman desecration. If that were true, then her real resting place could still be hidden somewhere beneath layers of history. Then there were those who took the mystery even further. What if Mary's departure wasn't just a religious miracle, but something far stranger, something beyond human understanding? Some radical theorists speculated that her ascension might not have been supernatural at all, but rather a divine intervention, or a phenomenon that defied all explanation. And perhaps the most unsettling question of all was this discovery meant to happen now? Throughout history, appearances of Mary have often been linked to warnings and revelations. From Fatima to Lourdes, believers say she only appears at critical moments. Could this tomb's unveiling be part of something much bigger? A message, a prophecy, or a sign of what's yet to come? The theories were endless, and the truth remained just out of reach. But one thing was clear. This discovery was no longer just about the past. It was about the future, and the world wasn't prepared for what might come next. Unexplained phenomena. Did the tomb hold divine power? As scientists and the Vatican wrestled with the implications of the empty tomb, something else began to emerge, something far more mysterious. It started subtly. Whispers among the excavation team, quiet reports that many dismissed as overactive imaginations. At first, many dismissed these experiences as nothing more than overactive imaginations. But then, the incidents kept happening, and soon, they became impossible to ignore. Several researchers who entered the tomb reported feeling an overwhelming presence, as if unseen eyes were watching them. Some described a powerful wave of emotions, grief, awe, even paralyzing fear, washing over them. Others said they heard faint, distant whispers, subtle yet unmistakable. The eerie part? No audio equipment ever captured a single sound. Then strange technical problems began. Flashlights flickered unpredictably. Cameras suddenly shut off without warning. Sensitive scientific instruments used for scanning and dating malfunctioned for no clear reason. At first, the team blamed electrical interference or underground humidity until they noticed the glitches happened only inside the tomb. The most unsettling moment came when a photographer on site captured something that defied all logic. Throughout the excavation, he had taken hundreds of photos, documenting every step with care. But in one series of images taken just minutes apart, there appeared a faint glowing light hovering above the sarcophagus. Initially, the team thought it was a trick of the light, a reflection from an outside source, but as they enhanced the images, it became clear the glow had no natural explanation. It wasn't lens flare or a camera flash reflection, and when they checked photos taken just before and after, the light was gone. Something strange was happening inside this tomb, something beyond human understanding. Was it a supernatural imprint from an event that happened centuries ago? Could it be a sign that Mary's presence still lingered in the place where her body was supposed to rest? Or was it something else entirely? A divine warning urging the world to proceed with caution. The mystery was growing deeper, and now the question was no longer just about what had happened in the past, but what this discovery meant for the present. The tomb and the end times. A prophetic sign? It didn't take long for prophecy experts and religious thinkers to start linking the discovery to biblical predictions about the end of days. Throughout history, moments of deep religious significance, like the rebuilding of sacred sites, strange celestial events, or sudden discoveries connected to biblical figures, have often been seen as signs that major divine events are about to happen. Now, with Mary's tomb, the most sacred of all mysteries, finally opened, many pointed to the Book of Revelation. This book describes a woman clothed with the sun who gives birth to a child destined to rule the nations. Many believe this passage symbolizes Mary and her role in the final days. Could this discovery, and the strange events around it, be part of that unfolding prophecy? Others look to Marian apparitions, especially the famous one in Fatima, Portugal, in 1917. There, 3 shepherd children claim to have seen visions of the Virgin Mary, who warned of global turmoil, war, and suffering, predictions that chillingly came true. So, was the opening of this tomb another warning? Had it been revealed now, at this exact moment in history, for a reason? While religious leaders urged caution and warned against jumping to conclusions, the debate only grew louder. Some saw this as a powerful reminder of Mary's role as an intercessor, a guiding light of faith during dark times. Others feared it might signal something more, a major shift, a revelation, or even an apocalyptic event waiting to unfold. The implications were staggering, and whether people believed or doubted, one thing was clear. This discovery had captured the world's attention like never before. Whether or not the events were supernatural, one thing was clear. The world had changed forever, and there was no going back. What's next? The future of the tomb and its secrets. In the days after the discovery, the excavation site drew global attention. Pilgrims from all over began gathering outside the tomb, praying, lighting candles, and leaving offerings. Some traveled thousands of miles just for the chance to stand at the entrance of this sacred place, feeling like they were witnessing history unfold. But with a discovery, this monumental came many questions. What happens now? The scientific community pushed for ongoing research, insisting that the artifacts and inscriptions receive further testing and careful preservation. Meanwhile, religious institutions voiced concerns about how much should be revealed. Would the tomb become a permanent research site studied for generations, or would it be sealed again to protect its sanctity and peace? There was also the question of what else might lie hidden. If this tomb held such incredible discoveries, could there be others out there, untouched and waiting to reveal even more secrets? Might there be hidden vaults, lost relics, or ancient texts buried beneath layers of history that could provide even clearer proof of Mary's divine role? One thing was certain. This was only the beginning. Whether through faith, science, or prophecy, the mystery of Mary's tomb was far from over, and the world was left wondering, had we just uncovered the past, or had we caught a glimpse of the future? The greatest mystery of all, Mary's fate. beyond the grave. For centuries, the fate of the Virgin Mary has been a subject of faith, devotion, and speculation. Some believe she ascended to heaven, body and soul. Others say she was laid to rest, her body buried in a secret place known only to the faithful. Now, with the opening of her supposed tomb, the debate has reached a fever pitch. What does an empty tomb mean for believers? For them, it's a powerful affirmation of the Assumption doctrine, that Mary was never meant to remain in the physical world. For skeptics, it only raises more questions. Was her body truly taken by divine means? Or has human history altered the story over time? The truth may never be fully known, and maybe that's the greatest mystery of all. Mary remains one of history's most revered and enigmatic figures, transcending religion. She is a symbol of purity, faith, and grace, a mother not only to Christ but to millions worldwide. Now, her story has taken yet another incredible turn. Perhaps her empty tomb isn't just a question, it's an answer, a message that she was never meant to stay in one place, a symbol that faith, like history, is always evolving, and maybe, just maybe, the world was never meant to know everything. Perhaps some mysteries are meant to stay eternal. What do you think? What's the meaning behind the empty tomb? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and until next time.